Coach Sanders and Colorado continue to prove the world wrong, as this season the Buffaloes ended up having a spectacular year and were competing for a college football playoff spot till just last weekend. Whether you love him or hate him, Coach Prime might be here to stay in college football, and with that, he needs to start looking towards 2025 to continue building his roster. In today's video, I'm going to give Coach Prime a couple of suggestions for players he should go after in the portal or potentially pick up. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and talk about 10 players Coach Prime should go after in the portal. Okay, so the first player I want them to go after is Kobe Prentice, a wide receiver from Alabama. Colorado under Coach Prime has run an offense that's more in line with a traditional air raid style, and this position is going to be very important moving forward, considering that Colorado will lose Travis Hunter, LeJohntay Webster, Will Shepard, and Jimmy Horn Jr., aka their top 4 receiving options. All of them will graduate and go off to the NFL, and this year's portal is full of really high-profile receivers with guys like Barion Brown, Jaden Ballard, Dane Key, and Kobe Prentice. But I'm going to say that Prime really needs to go after Prentice, and he's someone the Buffaloes need to target. Kobe is from Calera, Alabama, an area where Prime gets a lot of his recruits, and was a 4-star in the class of 2022. He has the size and the speed that Colorado looks for in receivers, and despite being stuck in a logjam at receiver in Tuscaloosa, he still has a very high ceiling for the position and could immediately slot in at the starting receiver spot behind Omarion and Draylon Miller. 2024 was a down year for him since he only caught 11 passes for 129 yards, but he could be an explosive candidate in Boulder if he ends up signing with the Buffaloes this offseason. Prentice, though, is listed as one of the top receivers in the portal, though, so you'll have plenty of offers and plenty of opportunities. Okay, so the second guy is Kaidon Salter. It's pretty much definitive that Colorado will be losing their starting quarterback Shedeur Sanders to the NFL draft this offseason, leaving them in a tough spot at the quarterback situation. They'll have freshman Ryan Staub, and then incoming freshman Julian Lewis, who's a reclassification kid, and then a few other backup candidates. They might want to find someone else in the portal who could be a stopgap for a year until Lewis is ready to take over for them. One of those guys who I think could be really good in Colorado's system is former Liberty and Tennessee quarterback Kaidon Salter. Coming out of high school, Salter was nearly a top 50 recruit and one of the future quarterback stars in college football, but unfortunately he had some off-the-field issues which ultimately stopped him from enrolling at Tennessee. As we all know, Josh Heupel's had a good track record with identifying quarterbacks, and from there Salter went to Liberty, and in the past few years has thrown for 5,887 yards with 56 touchdowns and 17 interceptions, including a 32 touchdown to 6 interception ratio last year. He led the entire Conference USA, and his record as a starter with the Flames was 21-4. Given Colorado's pass-happy offense, I can definitely see Kaidon succeeding under offensive coordinator Pat Shurmur and giving Julian Lewis a year to redshirt and get accustomed to the Big 12. Having a great year at Colorado could also silence concerns about Salter's performances against Conference USA teams, meaning he has a chance to go higher in the NFL draft at Colorado than he would have had at Liberty. It's a marriage that makes sense, and Colorado at minimum needs to grab somebody out of the portal, which is where my third option comes in, Nate Johnson. He's another quarterback prospect I can see Colorado chasing if they lose out on signing Salter, or no matter what, they should go after him. But the reasons between the two are quite different, as Colorado bringing in Nate Johnson would be vastly different. Nate would almost definitely start as a backup quarterback, competing with Julian Lewis and Ryan Staub, instead of coming in as an entrenched starter. Nate would be bringing in an entirely different element to the quarterback position compared to what the offense was used to at Shedeur under center, though. Coming out of California in the class of 2022, Nate was one of the fastest football players in the entire state, not just at the quarterback position, but at every position. He also has a strong arm, and while the offense at Colorado is more pass-first and hardly utilized the quarterback in the running game, having a guy like Johnson come in and do that could end up making them even more dangerous. He's a guy who can take off and run at any moment and gain 20 yards on a scramble, and that could make the Buffs one of the more dangerous offenses in college football. The run game at Colorado has been sorely lacking since Deion Sanders arrived in Boulder, and part of that has been the fact they've only really succeeded in the air. Speaking of that running back position, I think they need to go out and get a really good running back, and I was down to about 3 options: Ahmad Hardy, Malachi Hossley, and TJ Harden. Ultimately, I'm going to decide to go with Ahmad Hardy, as he's a guy who I think could really buy into Coach Prime and what he is doing. He has quite the interesting story, as coming out of high school, he went to Lawrence County High School in Mississippi and ended up running for 2,200 yards his senior season and was an all-state and all-conference player and an MVP. Still though, because of that, Hardy was only listed as a 3-star recruit and would have to go to Louisiana Monroe and be a part of the class of 2024. Ultimately, Hardy would end up running the ball 237 times for 1,351 yards and 13 total touchdowns. Hardy was a star in the making and had a couple of big performances, including over 200 yards against Marshall, one of the top teams in the conference, and 204 yards and 2 touchdowns against Arkansas State. Hardy will have at least 2 more years of college football before he's eligible for the draft, and I think a player like him would be perfect for Colorado. Coach Prime wants a running back that could maybe stay 2 or 3 years and help build the program into the next era. If they are moving away somewhat from the air raid offense or have some struggles at the quarterback position, Hardy could definitely hold up and keep the offense steady, and also gives them a new element in that running game. We'll have to wait and see though, but if he doesn't work out, I'd say they should go after Khalifa Keith. He's a guy who's going under the radar, as he is a former Tennessee running back. The running back position has been a sore spot for Colorado ever since Sanders took over. As their leading rusher last season, Dylan Edwards ran for 300 yards and transferred to K-State, and then their leading rusher this year, Isaac Augustave, only put up 373 yards. Dallin Hayden was also a bust out of the portal for Colorado, only putting up 196 yards and 63 carries. So as I said, let's say they do end up getting Ahmad Hardy, Khalifa Keith would be the perfect backup. He was stuck behind some good running backs at Tennessee, including Dylan Sampson and Deshaun Bishop, and I think he could really succeed with a change of scenery. On only 21 carries, Keith managed to put up 100 yards rushing and a touchdown, which is a better sample than much of what Colorado had all season. He's also big for the position at 6'2" and nearly 240 pounds, meaning he could be a true workhorse back for the Buffaloes, and a really good second punch for Ahmad Hardy. So right now we have their quarterback situation figured out, we have the running back situation figured out, we have their wide receiver position partly figured out, so now I think they need to go ahead and get a tight end. Another player I think Colorado should target is former Texas A&M tight end Jaden Platt, as the offense at Colorado historically has not really used tight ends under Coach Sanders, given that they have typically ran a spread style of offense that utilizes more open concepts and multiple receivers instead of a tight end on the line of scrimmage. In 2024, only one tight end caught a pass for Colorado, Sam Hart, for -1 yard. In 2023, Michael Harrison caught 31 passes for 284 yards and 5 touchdowns, and it's clear that the offense could prove to add more offensive threats, and a tight end could fill that role. Once upon a time, Jaden was one of the brightest future stars for the Aggie offense, as he was a 4-star recruit, and he logged 2 catches with a touchdown pass this last season as he would preserve his red shirt. He was looking to be the starter this year for Texas A&M until they brought in 3 tight ends from the portal, setting him down to 4th string and not even giving him a chance to play. He still has 3 years to play college football and has great size and speed at 6'5" and is over 260 pounds. He could be a dynamic element added to Colorado's offense, and now we need to move over to the offensive line and the defensive positions. Okay, so there was a lot of jokes about Colorado's offensive line all season long and in the preseason, and a guy they could add that could really help them out is Hunter Zambrano. Coming out of the university school in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Zambrano wasn't exactly seen as a blue-chip recruit. He ended up being a 2-year starter in high school and would help his team reach the state championship game, but sadly, he became part of the class of 2021 and would spend the next 4 years at Illinois State. They're one of the better FCS programs in the FCS, obviously, and at left tackle, he really helped the Redbirds. 2024 was once again a great season for Hunter, and right now, he's currently listed as the number 2 overall transfer in the country and the number 1 interior offensive lineman. I have no idea where he's going to go, but if somehow Coach Prime can land him, they'll have one of the top offensive linemen in all of college football next year, and a guy to really help anchor this offense. I'm sure the Buffaloes will try to get another offensive lineman, but let's go over to the defensive line. A guy I think they should target is Kelby Collins. He's next up on our list, as he is a former Florida Gator defensive end. The Buffaloes finished last year at just 37 total sacks, with BJ Green leading the way with 7.5, which led the entire conference. Looking at that, you'd think they'd have one of the better defenses in the league, but they also allowed 150 rushing yards per game. They'll consistently be in need of adding pass rush weapons, but also need to shore up some defensive linemen against the run. Someone like Kelby Collins, a defensive end who succeeded against the run, would be a great chess piece for the Buffaloes defense to add. He's another example of a high-ceiling player that had more playing time last year than he did this year. With 23 total tackles in 2023 compared to just 6 this past season, the 6'4", 280-pound player was seen as a good run stopper, and pairing him with some of these other Colorado pass attackers would really help the Buffalo defense elevate to one of the most solid in the entire Big 12. He's a guy who's definitely going under the radar, so there's not going to be a national sweepstakes for him, and he could be an underrated addition. Another guy is Curtis Perry, another defensive lineman. Let's go ahead and pair Kelby Collins with former Virginia Tech defensive tackle Curtis Perry, as he was a former 4-star defensive tackle from Virginia Tech. He also spent some time at Alabama at a high school, and so far has compiled very little stats with not much playing time with either the Crimson Tide or the Hokies, logging 3 game appearances total during his entire 2-year career, but since he has a 4-star rating, he still has that high ceiling that he could push for. Curtis was once rated as the 8th best defensive tackle in the entire 2023 class and the 10th best player amongst defensive linemen. There are some concerns about why he couldn't find the field at all during his time at Virginia Tech, but players don't get a 4-star rating by accident. Adding another rotational defensive line player for Colorado would be absolutely helpful for them, especially in the run-heavy Big 12 conference, where it seems like every school has a running back that goes for over 1,000 yards in a season. Okay, so the last guy I want to talk about is CJ Daniels. I think the Buffaloes need one more big-time wide receiver, and if they do end up landing Caden Salter, why not reunite him with his former go-to wide receiver, CJ Daniels? Coming out of high school, Daniels was going under the radar. Coming out of high school, nobody really wanted CJ Daniels, but after he eventually landed at Liberty, he'd have a terrific career. He caught 11 passes and 3 touchdowns as a freshman, and then broke out in 2021 with 37 catches for 7 touchdowns. His best season would come in 2023, as he broke the 1,000-yard mark, had 55 receptions, and 10 total touchdowns for the Flames. After 4 years there, he'd enter the 2024 portal, and this past season with LSU, he kind of fell behind, as he did catch 42 passes for 480 yards, but did not have a single touchdown. Daniels will have one more year to play college football, and again, in a hypothetical role where they land Caden Salter, why not reunite him with a guy that he knows very well? So yeah, today I talked about 10 potential portal additions for Colorado and tried to address some areas of need for them. Again, this is all hypothetical, and I have absolutely no idea if any of this will happen, and to my luck, none will, but still I felt it was important and fun to do, so be sure to let me know your thoughts down below. What kind of players does Coach Prime need to add to Colorado for them to be successful next year? What guy did I miss? And what topic should I do next? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.